With a special guest, an audio-visual version of a podcast, a video podcast, and I'm here with the Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Debbie Mercer.
Good to be here.
Yes. I am super excited because not only is she the Dean of College Education, she is my big boss. So I don't want to mess this up. So we're obviously here on behalf of the First Gen celebration coming up next week, and we know how much the First Gen students, how much they mean to our campus, how much they mean to our community, and I think it's fantastic that they're having this celebration because it really is empowering to not only those First Gen students who are here, but our future First Gen students. So I'll just jump right in, and I just want to ask, how does being a First Gen student, what does that mean to you to be a First Gen student? I didn't even know that, in fact.
Well, neither did I. In fact, I remember being at a conference and all the first generation folks were asked to stand, and I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
But I am one,
Sure.
right? So you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so I think the recognition of first gen students on our campus is very important. We're somewhere between 25 and 35%, upwards even of that any given year. So it's a large percentage of our population that are the very first in their family to go to college.
Yeah.
And so the recognition of that, the celebration of that, and the support of those students is important.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I saw that too, that 25%. I was like, I guess I just assumed that it was either maybe a little bit lower, but I think it can be higher, and I think that that's something as we think about our future missions and how can we go out and get more folks to choose to be those first gen, so that their kids and next generations, they kind of set that next trajectory for their families. So, in what ways, how was your first generation student experience as a college graduate? You didn't realize, well, hey, I'm first gen while you were in, but now I guess when you think about that and when you rewind and think the process that you went through in being that first gen student.
So I had a very unique first gen walk. So I was the first in my family to go to college, so I didn't have somebody to ask, what's a 3-hour course, right? You're in high school, everything's worth one. What does this 3 hours mean? What's life in a dorm going to be like?
Yeah.
What do I need to take?
Terrible. No, just interesting.
Any
I guess
given
is what
day,
it would be.
any given day, right?
Or exhilarating. I think that the dorm, that when you say that the dorm life, but you're exactly right. When you think about that, it's like, how is that gonna be?
Right.
Where I go from being home and now I'm living with
someone I don't know,
yes,
right?
and sharing a bathroom and all these different things.
Yes,
so.
right. I shared a room with my sister, but certainly never with someone that I didn't know, right? So there are all these unknowns, and coming to college, you're going to classes, right? That's kind of a given. But what you don't know are all the other opportunities across campus, the other ways in which you can get involved, be engaged. You don't have someone who was part of a sorority or a fraternity or played intramural sports or was involved in clubs and organizations, so you don't realize the wealth of activity that is there. But I said I was a unique first gen student. So my mom is a college graduate. And you're saying, well, how could you be sitting here as a first gen student? Because I went to college first. And after my youngest sister entered high school, my mom started school. And so then I became her support system.
Yes.
Well, here's what a 3-hour class means,
That's
Mom.
fantastic.
And so she earned her teaching certificate and then spent a lot of time in kindergarten and first grade classrooms.
I had no idea. And that's why this is important, that we do these types of video sessions, is because here is the Dean of a College of Education that has this story. And I've worked there for now in my 6th year. I had no idea, but then also your daughter is...
My daughter's a teacher, yes.
Yeah, so it's like you just got this whole now network of folks from you starting as first gen, and then kind of a rewind, and now then your mom went, and then obviously your daughter went. So
I'll add one more. My great grandmother was a teacher in a one-room schoolhouse.
okay.
My grandma was a teacher under what is now Tuttle Creek Lake. Her school is now gone. So a very long history and legacy of educators in my family.
Well, and I think that's fantastic. And it's funny, this morning I just was talking to my son, and he said, well, what do you, like, I don't really know what I kind of want to do. He's a seventh grader, you know, and I said, well, what about, you know, you'd make a great teacher, because he's just like a caring person. He does well in school. And he's like, well, yeah, I don't know. That seems kind of intimidating to have to stand up there, you know, but him being able to see me, and also his mom, and be educators and you know, be successful in that field, I think it does. It sort of creates this. It's like you're setting kind of that precedent in a way,
Sure.
in a family, and not that everybody has to be and go to university, and that's not what we're saying, but him being able to me to say, like, you could do this. Like,
It's possible.
It's possible. Exactly. It's possible.
You can do it.
That's exactly it. And same thing, like for me, you know, and my experience as first gen is there was never a conversation, and this is what I wanted to get to. I'm going a little off script here because that's what I do.
You do that
kind of,
well.
Keep things kind of crazy. But is, you know, that there was never conversation about university or college or sort of that, and I'm not trying to belittle my parents or anything. They were both very hard workers. But it was you go to school and then you go get a job, and my dad was a railroader and a plumber, and so it was you could come work for the railroad and you can have it's just a good job and good benefits, and there's nothing wrong with that either, but there wasn't this, like you said, this background knowledge of kind of, but there's also this other option that you could go and pursue. So
Exactly, the expectation wasn't there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it was just, don't get in trouble, Dustin. Don't get in trouble. So when I think about what you've seen as kind of obviously in your leadership role of what we do for first-gen students around campus and within the college, what are some things that you've seen or maybe things that we need to be doing better?
So a support structure is so important. So we have that within the College of Education. We have First to Teach, and that's an opportunity for students to come together. It's a safe place to ask questions, and I think that is perhaps the most important thing.
Yes.
Is where do I feel safe asking this question that could be deemed silly by some, that could be common knowledge to another group, but I don't know.
Sure.
So our advisors are very tuned in to the needs of our first-gen students. Again, there are opportunities for them to interact, and I think that's just absolutely critical.
I think that is, and you know, some of the conversations I've had with students as well is it's exactly that. It's intimidating.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Sure.
overwhelming at times, and you think I'm going to go to class, and then I'm going to do obviously the assignments come on, but there's all these campus events going on, and then now I got to try and interact with my new peers and these folks, and it is. I think it's very important, and that's true. Like you need that. You need somebody in support that you can talk to. So that it makes sure that you have confidence in what you're doing, which I think is huge, and that's what I wanted to work with this first gen group was to be able to recognize that, like, this is a big deal what you're doing. You know, this is a big deal in the precedent that you're setting for your family and future generations. So back to kind of I don't mean to hijack the conversation. I like to do sometimes, but. When you think about like your interactions with first-gen students, what are some things that like you've seen that I don't want to say differ, but that sort of sometimes rise to the top in those interactions with those first-gen students?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is an emphasis on finance. How am I going to pay for this? Are there scholarships that are available for me? My financial aid isn't there. Can I still go to classes the first week, or do? So there's a layer of imposter syndrome, right? Yeah. Am I supposed to be here? Am I going to have not only the intellectual skills to be successful, but the navigation skills to get through all the systems and the layers we have at a university? Yeah, because it's like there's like these silos, and where. Like everybody who's in that silo knows what that silo does and what it's about, and like, well, if students would just come, we could help them out, but when you walk on, and you see the beauty of our campus, obviously, or if you're online or whatever it may be, you think, golly, like, where do I go for this, or I'm having this issue, or I want to connect with other folks or whatever it may be, and
I think that can definitely be overwhelming. But First Gen, you're a resilient bunch. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that's something too. Is it
Absolutely.
takes a big step. So.
It does. It takes students that are very brave, very
Mhm.
courageous,
Yes.
because they're stepping into the unknown.
That's it. No, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add about First Gen or the topic that you can think of before I cut us off here?
Well, a couple of things. So one, the College of Education did a documentary, and we talked to first gen students and asked them similar questions to what you're asking me. And it was very enlightening for us as a faculty to come together and watch that and then be able to dialogue about that. And I think it made a greater understanding for everyone involved. So I wanted to plug that. In fact, as that documentary was coming out, Michelle Obama was First Lady at the time, and she talked about being a first-gen student and going to the dorm with queen-size sheets because that's all they had at home, and not realizing, oh, the bed is this little bitty twin-size bed that I'm going to share. So just so many little details that when you're the person in the middle of it, it's a big deal.
It is.
Right? I mean, as we were debriefing after that, a student said, can you imagine Bill Snyder Family Stadium with 25 or 30% fewer students?
Yeah.
The percentage of first gen
it would be noticeable.
And that visual, yes, was very noticeable. So at K-State, we talk a great deal about legacy students. You know, my mom and dad went to school here. My dad played basketball. My mom, was involved in a sorority. All these legacy, this rich history, right? 1863. That's a long history. But we have to think about it. So many new students coming in, and that invigorates K-State. That provides a new perspective, a new lens. And so it's just a wonderful opportunity for us as an institution to recognize and support our first-gen students.
So I'm excited about this week coming up. There's a lot of events planned. That documentary on this, I'll go ahead and try and tag this and have a link to that documentary as well for you all to check out. And lastly, just on that is, I think that it is just so important in life to be able to see the perspective of others and that you don't think about on a daily basis, and First Gen being one of them. So I'm glad that we can have this series here of video interviews, and we'll have some podcasts as well. So thank you, Dean Mercer, for I know you're a very busy person, so taking the time to do this.
Like you.
So I very much appreciate it.
Absolutely,
So,
my
thank you.
pleasure.